You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR. Excuse me, it's only been a week, but I'm ready to go to talk about Lightning hockey again. Welcome to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, it's Jose Mataro. It's Matt Gannon. Guys, welcome back to the show. Welcome to everybody who's tuned in with us live. Because, guys, this is a big show. Not because of the games we have to talk about. We're kind of going to skip over those a little bit fast, if I'm going to be honest with you. But because we have the trade deadline approaching in just a few days, it's one of the most exciting times of the year. You're getting down to the end of the regular season. Playoffs are right around the corner. Players are going to be moving. Lots to talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing today?
Doing well. Exciting to have the trade deadline getting here and have something that'll be fun to talk about on kind of this week in games.
Yeah, I was really excited to get back into the saddle and, back into the regular swing of Lightning hockey. And it was a great first game. And then, the mood quickly shifted away from all that excitement. But again, we've got the trade deadline to talk about. It definitely snuck up on us very fast. I didn't realize it was going to be this Friday. And I'm still kind of in Olympic mode. But, man, it should be an exciting show regardless.
Yeah, it's a long break having 2 weeks off for the Olympics compared to just like an extended weekend when you get the All-Star game.
I am missing Olympic hockey of on-time starts, no sports ads, and just good hockey. We did not get that after the Olympics ended, but hey, it's trade deadline time. By the way, if you're with us live, don't forget to drop your comments down below. Want to hear from you guys, especially in this episode, on who you think the Lightning should be targeting. Do you like some of these trade targets that we're going to talk about today? Chat's already active. Love to see that. Beverly here too saying, evening boys, trade talk tonight for sure. Yes, absolutely. Ethan's in the comments guessing what hat Joe's going to wear. It's been a fun time already. So get down here, join us live. If you're watching this later on, don't forget to follow us on social media at RBR Sports, at RBR Lightning. Subscribe on YouTube, ring notifications, all that good fun stuff, so you do know when we do go live. But with that said, here's how this show is kind of going to go. We are going to recap the games, talk a little about what happened this weekend, because it is important. We do need to talk about it. And then we're going to jump right into all of the trade rumors, some of the guys Lightning have been connected to, maybe some of the guys that you guys want to see heading to the Lightning at this trade deadline, who the Lightning could be trading, all that good fun stuff. So let's start with these game recaps, guys.
As I said, you got to start with news, right? You got to start with the injuries.
Well, we did have a couple. Are you talking about the ones during that happened in these games? I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's. Injuries and players coming back this week. I mean, it's been quite a mix-up and move around for the players for the Lightning. Got to see Littleberg come back, after being down for several months, and then, of course, someone that's been playing really, really well. Actually, both guys have been playing really, really well. Ended up getting injured, and Gonsalves and Dominic James. So, I mean, those are, I guess Cooper said, at least 2 days or 2 games for both of them.
2 games for Dominic James?
What's Cooper, right? I mean,
yeah.
he said at least 2 games.
So I actually I was very in and out of that. Who was that against? Buffalo game where that Dominic James injury occurred, and I didn't get to see it. It was hard to find a video, but the way people were talking about it made it sound like his leg was, off of him. What exactly happened? I couldn't really, get a straight answer from anybody.
The secondary hit, his leg was basically underneath him as he got rolled backwards. From people that were at the rink, people that I know, saying it looked like it was potentially a high ankle sprain. I haven't heard any indications of it being broken. Something like that. If it's broken, you got a pretty set time on how long it takes, and it'd be like a spiral. Those things it could be both good and bad. But if it's a high ankle sprain, you're tearing, soft tissue, then it's either way. It's not going to be good unless it's something that's minor, and that definitely didn't look minor.
It's a shame because he's been playing so well recently too. Like he's just been
scored a goal in that game.
Absolutely, not even just the goal he got, but him in the faceoff circle too. He was dynamite in was it the Hurricane? Yeah, the Hurricanes game I think it was. He was almost like undefeated in the faceoff circle.
Yeah, he's been a guy that's been developing. I've been really excited about his play. He's not a huge guy, and unfortunately got a much bigger guy that kind of rolled him up. So hopefully something that can get back to the pace that he was at, and it doesn't slow him down too much. But I'm worried about that one, man.
Yeah, no, Dominic James has been by far one of my favorite players this year on the Lightning. And, I've always said when the Lightning have been at their best, they've had one or two guys that have come from the minors and have really played above their pay grade. Ross Colton is one of the best examples, who ended up scoring the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals for the Lightning. And James was kind of that player for me this year. He has played really, really good, young player coming up from our system. And to see him go down in that Buffalo game and I was going to get to this once we talked about this Buffalo game, but we'll jump to it now kind of. But that was the worst part about that game, right? The loss sucks. The Lightning did not play in that good game. And again, we'll get to that in a second. But that was the worst part for me, because when you lose a player like that, and I initially thought the way he was hobbling off the ice and had to be helped off, I'm immediately thinking long-term injured reserve. He's going to be out for a while. Cooper's comments actually gave me a little bit more of hope for this, because he didn't immediately go to that and made it sound like there's potential that he could be back relatively soon. Again, like you said, Joe, it's Cooper. You really just don't know what you're going to get until until he comes back, really. So I don't know. It didn't look good, but Cooper's comments did give me a little bit of hope when it comes to that injury specifically.
Yeah, the fact that they didn't list him on IR instantly, tells you that there must be some flexibility in terms of like that timeline, right? So I guess maybe it's something that kind of happened with Hedman too, right? They gave us two different timelines in terms of when they thought that he'd be able to come back earlier in the season, and then he ended up having a surgery that they didn't want him to have. They wanted him to PT through it first. So yeah, we'll see where it ends up after, I guess, this next week of games, and we get updates.
I mean, he's also proven to be, a tough customer as well. I remember earlier in the season when he took a puck to the face and managed to finish his shift and play the rest of the game, or only miss like a single shift, come out in the bubble. Like, it got him pretty good. So if he can play through that, I mean, you can't really play through a high ankle sprain or a broken leg, but he's proven himself to be a tough customer.
They did mention we should get more information, and guys like James are going to be reevaluated, and Gonsalves as well in the next couple of days here. So we should know some more soon. Joe, you almost threw me. I thought you were throwing me a curveball. I think you were going to talk about some breaking news that just happened when you had first said, let's get to the news first. I was like, wait, what happened that I don't know about? One other thing we should touch on, I should have known this at the start of the show, but condolences to head coach John Cooper, who did lose his father and missed the first two games back from the Olympic break. Always a tough thing to hear about. So prayers go out to John Cooper and his family. Glad he's back behind the bench now, though, and can help continue the Lightning getting to their playoff run and hopefully winning the Stanley Cup. So we wanted to mention that as well. All right. Speaking of these games, first game back for the Lightning from the Olympic break was against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And initially, guys, it kind of felt like, well, hey, there's not much of an Olympic hangover for the Bolts here. They looked pretty good. They got a nice win against Toronto. Now, listen, I understand Toronto has not been a good team this year. They are very much on the outside looking in right now in that playoff race. But still, nice to get a win back after the Olympics. 4-2 is your final here. The usual suspects getting on the score sheet. Nikita Kucherov doing what he does best. Man, that guy is on an absolute tear. Every single stat that comes out about him, how many points he has in recent games, is just absolutely ridiculous. He's what now? 5, 6, 7 points out of first place in the point race, I believe. I don't know if you guys have that pulled up anywhere, but he's close, and he's missed way more games than the other top two guys right now, McKinnon and McDavid. So really impressive stuff from Kucherov. The big story, though, I think from this game was Braden Point finally making his return after a long, long time. Didn't go to the Olympics, even though maybe had a chance, and he was a huge factor in this game.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that you can take away in this game that were kind of interesting as well. You touching on points real quick with Cooch. How many goals were taken back this week? There's at least
two in
two
this game.
Yeah, 2 in this game alone, where he would have had an assist and a goal for Kucherov. Man, just the worst of luck. The one I can't quite remember with the offsides, but I know that he was definitely off. Like, foot was up in the air, and as soon as I saw it before the puck went in, I'm like, oh, that one's gonna end up getting called. But I mean, it's a good bounce back game against or a good opening game against Toronto to get some quick goals and to get Braden Point. Braden Point looked pretty good coming in there. You could tell that he was motivated.
Yeah, and he's 8 points behind Connor McDavid, who had a pretty good night the other night. But still, for missing as much time as he had, only a couple of games, but still, for being third in the Art Ross race right now, only 8 points back of a guy named McDavid, pretty good. He always likes to spot the lead. But you said all the usual names ending up on the score sheet, but you got to give a little bit of credit to Gage Gonsalves as well. He had a 3-assist night in this game. And I thought he's been playing great up on the top line. Of course,
That's how much credit I'm giving to him, Matt. He's just one of the usual names at this point.
I'll take that, man. But no, and you're saying stats about Kucherov as well. He's got to lead the league in the most disallowed goals or disallowed points or something like that. I think this is what his 6th, maybe 7th, no pun, goal disallowed this year. And sorry. It's crazy, but I do have to admit both of those goals were objectively, not, upholdable. They were definitely illegal goals to be scored, but no, definitely a fun game. It wasn't a perfect game by any stretch. Obviously, Vasilevsky really played really well in this game, but the Lightning, of course, the much more dominant team throughout the whole game, but Toronto still, with their usual Toronto resilience, they like to come back in games. They like to give a lot of breakaway chances. I know Nylander, he got a couple breakaways this game, and Vasilevsky really stood on his head for 58 minutes in this game. Interesting last couple minutes in the game, but overall, a really good game by the Bolts. And yeah, you did say kind of a weaker Toronto team this year, but still, any win against Toronto always puts a smile on my face. I don't care if they're dead last in the league. It's a good win in my book.
It only got worse for Toronto, by the way, who continued to go on to lose to both Florida and Buffalo. So they are mightily struggling right now coming out of the Olympic break, and they need a lot of help right now. So good win for the Bolts. You thought maybe no Olympic hangover, but things took a turn in the next 2 games. And I think we can kind of lump these together a little bit, guys, because they're kind of similar games, right? Where both of these games against Carolina and Buffalo, to me, were immediately lost in the first 10 minutes of the game. Carolina, you go down 3-0 extremely early, and then again it happens to the Buffalo Sabres. You go down 3-0 in the first 10 minutes, and you're already like, okay, this is going to be a struggle. Now the difference is in the Carolina game, the Lightning did get their feet underneath them finally and did start to come back here. And this is on the heels of a back-to-back on the road, all those typical traditional excuses, if you will. But they did come back. And they also played such a crazy last minute of this game that the Lightning posted it on social media, even though they ended up losing the game. That's not normal. It wasn't actually ridiculous last couple of minutes with all those blocked shots. I think Bjorkstrand was trying to save his potential drop here on the Lightning a little bit there. But yeah, 2 games where clearly things just aren't right for the team right now. They're not playing their best hockey. And again, it's those first 10 minutes where really I think they lost this game.
I'd say that they lost it in that, and then also, starting to see a little bit of they went 1 for 2 on the power play, but starting to see a little bit of struggle on the power play, specifically from Darren Radish. Maybe he just needs, had too much of a break and needs a few more reps, but not being able to get that one-timer off and looked like some of the passing just wasn't crisp. Definitely blame that from this this whole week, definitely blame that a bit on the time off. But if they're not clicking completely on their power play and penalty kill against a team as good as Carolina, who with this win passed them for number one in the conference, they're some of their biggest assets aren't being utilized properly.
Yeah, Darren Radish definitely did have a bit of a struggle return. I'm not going to say, isolate just him. It was a lot of other guys as well, but it almost looked like 2024 Darren Radish these first couple of games. I think he's gotten a little bit better as it's gone on, but that Toronto game, I thought he was pretty rough, and we're done with that.
No, I was just going to say with those the first goal shouldn't have gone in, right? That's completely on JoJo, but the next two goals were 2-on-1s. Can't blame goaltending on that, and one of them was Radish not playing it well at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I had a nickel for every 2-on-1 in that game, or just odd man rush in that game, I would have a good couple nickels, which I really shouldn't. It was rough, the defense that game. And Carolina, again, they're a good team. They like to play that north-south hockey and just take advantage of the rush and just kind of get everything on net. And they capitalized against a pretty weak defense that game. The Buffalo game, are we tackling to it once? That game was just...
Might as well, right?
Yeah, let's rip the Band-Aid off. That game was just a sad showing right there. I wasn't even present for a lot of that game. I was going out to dinner, and on the way there, it was like the game started, we get in the car, I turned the game on at dinner. I'm that guy that has it on my phone, and it's 4-0, like 10 minutes into the game. I was like, okay, I can just turn that off.
Makes it easy to enjoy your dinner, right?
Very much so, yeah. And then, a little bit through the dinner, you turn it back on. You're like, oh, it's 5-0 now. Oh, we scored a goal. It was really nice. So I really didn't get to consume a lot of that game. It seemed like every time I brought it back up, something bad happened. The Jake Gensel disallowed goal. That was in the Buffalo game, right? That kick.
Was that Gensel or was it Bergstrand? I think Dan was actually...
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
I was bringing up this comment from the biggest right about disallowed goals this week was the Bjorkstrand goal and the distinct kicking motion as he's falling from a slew foot. That one was a little weird. It's hard for me to get as mad about it just because a lot of them were playing so bad in that game.
Yeah.
Kind of lost in the shuffle, but yes.
I'm not going to lie. Like, from one angle, that's 100% a kicking motion. You could see the way that he accelerates his foot right into the puck, kicks it right in, and then from another angle, it looks like it was just a continuation of him being, dragged down. And it didn't look like a kicking motion to me nearly as much. That was a weird one, and just the way it went down. Like when you get your legs kicked out from under you, how do you focus on the puck and actually do that intentionally? And I don't know. I mean, I don't think that they got the call necessarily wrong, but that was one of the more bizarre ones.
I think they got it wrong. I don't know where else your legs are supposed to go. I don't know if he's supposed to do a split or whatever. Like, maybe it might be like accidentally on purpose. Of course, the puck's in your feet. You're going to kind of direct it. But I don't know. I think he was just trying to, get taken down in the least harmful way. Like, one of the things you got to learn first in hockey is, and pretty much any other sport in life, is how to fall, how to take a hit. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it was a distinct kicking motion. The skate didn't really leave the ice. It wasn't a soccer ball kick or anything. Like, I don't understand why it was disallowed, especially considering he was taken down.
Yeah,
like it wasn't in his control.
But it might also be kind of one of those things where if you high stick a guy, it's you're in charge, or if you trip a guy inadvertently, you're still in charge of your stick, and even though he may not have intended to, but you still can't really judge intent. It's just a weird one, and luckily inconsequential, right? They didn't have the ability really to come back in this game, but it was a strange one.
It's just a bummer, of course. Yeah, it makes the final score 6-3. Like, it's still BTA, but it's the principle of it. Come on.
That goal at the time would have made it 4-2, and I had initially thought, and I texted Michael this during the game. I said, "Are we really doing this again? Are we going to give me some false hope and think we're going to make this game a close?" And then it got called back, and I'm like, "All right, well, this one's already lost. It feels lost at this point." So it did change it a little bit there. Do you want to get to a quick comment here from Beverly saying, It seems the problems were compounded with Hedman on the ice. How long before the real Heddy comes back? Actually, I don't know about you guys. I thought Hedman was fine. I know he's not been the same player he's been in years past, but the stats at least weren't terrible. He was only a -1 in the Carolina game. And then in the Buffalo game, Hedman was solid with a goal and assist, 2 points, and was a +1. So to be able to pull that off in a game like that, I think is pretty positive.
A little bit, but one thing that is relatively concerning is the amount of time on ice that he's getting right now. He ended up with 16 minutes in the Buffalo game, which is the most out of the 3 games. In the Toronto game, he didn't even hit 12 minutes. They did run more defensemen, but still, it definitely a guy that's playing more than 20 minutes a night most nights throughout his career. I wonder how fast I can pull up the average that he has. He doesn't look 100%. He looks like he's still nursing something. So,
he did miss one of the Olympic Games too. Remember? In warm-ups, I think it was, which I still don't know what happened. But.
He averages like 23.5 minutes a game throughout his career. So being in just 16 it's a big deal. It's a really big deal, him missing that much ice time throughout a game. And if he's nursing something, it definitely shows through some of the play, that explosiveness that we've talked about in the past.
If you get injured in warm-ups, something bigger is going on. This is a guy that's, it seems like, we're making excuses for him for the last couple of years. Like, oh, he's battling this, he's playing through that, whatever it might be. And at a certain point, shut it down until you're ready, especially with the emergence of Darren Radish right now. This is the best, time to do it. Maybe this week proves something different, but it seemed like he was kind of rushed back before the Olympics, and then he got injured in that same game or the next game or something, and then rushed back to the Olympics, gets injured in warmups. Like, he's dealing with an ailment that obviously is detrimental to his play. And I really didn't think he was bad this week at all. I think some people are just kind of picking on him because he's maybe not the easy target, but it seems like when he's in the lineup, stuff goes wrong. And that really has been the theme this year. Obviously before his injury, I don't think he was great at all, but maybe he was playing through an injury. So I'm in the camp of, if you're getting injured so easily in warm-ups or just on kind of bogus whatever hits, you're obviously still dealing with an ailment of some sorts. Shut it down until you're good to go.
Well, and you mentioned that, right? But it's weird because Point had an injury and was shut down. Could have maybe come back for the Olympics, but didn't go. And he's come back and looked absolutely fantastic. And especially with the position the Lightning are in. Yes, this week was rough. Everybody kind of had a bad couple of days there. Cooper even called the team out, which he very rarely does in his way. But if you're dealing with an injury and you're not 100%, there is no reason to be playing hockey right now. So it does kind of surprise me a little bit. But it does feel like he is dealing with something. It is weird. And I do think, Matt, you are right that Hedman is the quote-unquote scapegoat right now because, yes, overall, Hedman's getting older. He's not playing like his old self. Kind of saw this similar right with Steven Stamkos when he got towards the end of his time here in Tampa. But I don't think he was that bad. He seemed like he got better in the last couple of days. His ice time did improve, and he did have the goal and the assist. Was a +1 in that Buffalo game. So
finally got it.
I was just saying, glad he got that goal, the first goal of the season.
He scored a goal in the Olympics.
Getting better here
before in the NHL.
But maybe
it's not all. I was just gonna say, it's not all doom and gloom. You still look at the standings. Even though we dropped to 1-1, we're still second in the conference with a game in hand against Carolina, who's just 2 points ahead of us now after their win, and the race for the wild card spot is tightening up to a point that it looks like the Panthers are going to get completely choked out. So that's another win for us. And finally, going back to statistics here, stats for players. Even though Vasi led in, what was that, 5 before getting yanked against Buffalo, he still is the number 1 goalie for goals against average, the number 2 goalie for save percentage, and he's top 10 because he has a couple of shutouts, but the team's still really good. It's just a couple of off games. So hopefully get back to it and maybe add a piece or two in order to help out our chances.
I think Michael also kind of said it well. He said it's the annual Buffalo stinker. Like it's scheduled to happen at least once a year, and it's not like either of these two losses were against bad teams. You're the number one team in the conference, Carolina, who's damn good, and Buffalo, who's second in the division right now, or was at the time. Like at least you're not losing to Calgary or St. Louis or somebody that's just way down in the standings. Of course, it's a bummer, in the overall conference standings, but at least they're good teams. I can't believe I'm saying that about Buffalo.
It's the top three teams for 2026 in the East. Buffalo had almost a 10-game streak there. Carolina Hurricanes are sitting at 8-0-2 in their last 10. So yeah, this is some of the top teams in the conference, in the league, and they're part of a back-to-back as well.
And you know who the last regulation? I'm sorry, Jake. I'll let you get a word in a sec. But the last regulation loss before this was against Columbus, who's on an insane heater. I think even still, once they fired their coach, they're it went on like a 10 or something game win streak too. So you're losing against really good teams. Maybe in a little bit of an embarrassing way, but at least they're good teams.
Yeah, no, you guys are absolutely right. And these things are to happen in a season. I mean, listen, Lightning were 21-1 going into the Olympic break, I believe it was. So, you almost expected it to happen at some point. It's unfortunate. And Lightning only lost a goal, by the way, to Carolina. They almost came back in that game. They had tied it at one point. So definitely not all doom and gloom. But Joe, as you mentioned, speaking of adding pieces, one thing I should also mention is not only are we looking to see what the Lightning could be adding to their roster, but don't forget to add to your collection as well by heading over to shop.rblrsports.com, and you guys can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. It's not just Lightning merchandise, Lightning, Rays, Bucks, Rowdies, Sun, team-inspired merchandise we have over there for you guys. There's a new look to the shop as well, so be sure to go check that out. Again, shop.rblrsports.com. Links, as always, are in the description. Use your code to get 10% off. Helps us out. You guys get a cool t-shirt. We really do appreciate it. But then the big thing, right? Forget adding to our collections, but adding to the Lightning's collection. What can they do here at the trade deadline to help their team going into the roster? Now, guys,
Steven Stamkos, that's who it's going to be. Let's get this one right off at the top. There's been talk since the moment that he left the team that he is coming back. It's going to be retention from two teams, even though you can't do that anymore. And the only thing that we're giving back is a bag of pucks.
Joe, you seem very passionate about this one.
I'm just putting all the stuff out there that I am so sick of hearing about, because we hear it every single time, Stamkos gets interviewed by somebody, he's coming back. So it's a tiring one, man.
Well,
but it's
for
a fun
those
one.
Who maybe it is a fun one. And listen, selfishly, I would have loved to see Steven Stamkos coming back. But it sounds like that is something that is definitely not going to happen, because the latest reports in an interview with Steven Stamkos is he said he has no plans to waive his no movement clause that he has in his contract. He wants to stay in Nashville. And when a player has a no movement clause, if they're not waiving it, there's nothing the team can do. So that all signs pointing to Steven Stamkos staying in Nashville. And Nashville, I haven't checked the standings of where they're sitting at right now, but they haven't been playing terrible. Like, I don't think they're out
They're
of
perfectly mid.
So, perfectly mid. That's
I feel like Cooper's worn off on Stamkos quite a bit when it comes to the way that he communicates through the media, because saying that he has no plans doesn't mean that he won't have plans in the future to change that. And we've seen Stamkos, dealing with the Lightning, say stuff like that as well. So, where he's saying, talking about offers and, with JBB. So I don't believe anything that, that he's saying in terms of that, but I also don't think that this deal is going to end up being put together.
As cool as it would be, I don't think it's going to happen. Just making the money work. And again, he's a year and a half into his new deal in Nashville, and I think he's the team's leading goal scorer right now too. I wouldn't want to trade him. in the mix for a playoff spot. They're definitely vying for a first round sweep, but it's hard to trade your leading goal scorer.
They're 3 points out of a playoff spot right now, by the way.
Dang.
They're 60 games played, about even with everybody else. Seattle has 59. They're at 65. So they're not out of it by any means. All right. I have some names, guys, for you. I put together a list of players that have been mentioned in some trade rumors, and I thought we could just run through some of them and talk about the potential if they could work. Who are some of the players we could talk about sitting, maybe leaving the team as well to make some of these trade works? I see you guys in the comments as well. We're going to get to those shortly, but let's jump through some of these names real quick. First one I have written down is probably the one we've heard the most rumors about besides Steven Stamkos, and that is another former Tampa Bay Lightning player, and of course is Blake Coleman. A lot of connections of him potentially going back to the Lightning. His cap hit, by the way, $4.9 million. He has 2 years left on his contract. We talked about it a little bit before. It's a move that I wouldn't necessarily hate. It's kind of a tough one to see happening because of that contract. You're probably going to move out a guy like Oliver Bjorkstrand to really make it work and then have the retention as well coming back from Calgary. But he is probably the biggest name linked to the Lightning most consistently right now.
How long do you say he had left on his contract? Do you say
2 years, including this year.
And at what value?
$4.9 million.
I don't love it. I personally don't love it. I know that he did a lot for this team, but I just don't see getting rid of Bjorkstrand for Coleman. I don't know that there's enough upside on that. Yeah, Oliver needs to be burying his chances better, but having him be right-handed also, so he could just help out even a bit on the power play. I don't know that I would replace those two straight up, and I'm not sure if there isn't room to have both, right?
No, so the Lightning have, I should have mentioned this off the top, but the Lightning have about $3 million in cap space right now. And their deadline cap is about the same as well. So
potentially they could have it if there was retention. So that means giving up more for him.
Correct.
This is expanding on the Blake Coleman thing, but it's a name that I was going to bring up earlier, but I'm glad I guess you started with Blake Coleman. Package deal. If, history has taught us anything, Julian likes to, maybe not history, but he did it last year, get two players from the same team. And a name that I've been kind of galaxy braining, doesn't really fit the bill for Calgary's future, is Mackenzie Weegar, right-handed defenseman, pretty good defenseman in his own right. I think you maybe ship out a player like Chernak. He makes about the same salary, $6.25 million a year. Get him with Blake Coleman. Obviously, you're going to have to add more, but the salary matches up. The same money in is the same money going out. You're going to have to give up a little bit more. Uyghur's a pretty good defenseman. His stats aren't too pretty, but nobody's is really on Calgary. I know last year he was actually a great, solid lockdown defenseman, much more durable than Eric Chernak as well. But if somehow Julian can swing getting Coleman and Mackenzie Weegar, who, again, I think he's a really solid defenseman. I don't know where, he'd be, the second right-handed defenseman under Darren Radish right now, but he can play both sides of the puck as well. He's not really limited to either side. He switches back and forth. Pretty versatile guy. And then Blake Coleman, we all know him. Swiss Army knife, scored 30 goals a couple of years ago, and, offense goes to die in Calgary. Maybe he's got another gear that we haven't seen before. Maybe like, JT Miller, when you traded him away, turned into an offensive superstar. Maybe if you get Coleman back, you get a little bit of that. Of course, it sucks if you ship Bjorkstrand out, losing another righty for the power play. That's pretty much all he's good for. I'm just kind of galaxy braining. Really, the big name that's going the other way would be Sam O'Reilly, is the guy that's been dangled out there.
Yeah, that is the biggest prospect that's been talked about. The Lightning could be potentially trading here. I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't think it's a move the Lightning are going to make. Matt, I kind of like your idea better of the package deal. So, we'll see what the Lightning end up doing here. But by the way, Lisa she's in Blake and Yanni again. I'm down. And you know what? Hey, that line would be another great line for the Lightning to have when it comes to shutting the opponents down. Staying in Calgary, though, Matt, I almost thought you might bring up this name there when you were talking about it here, because another player from Calgary that has been lightly linked to the Lightning is Nazem Kadri, which is an interesting name. I think Matt is going to have some opinions on this, but big name for yeah, there it is. Big name forward, but Kadri right now. Here's the crazy part: cap it is $7 million with 4 years left on his deal, so it's a pretty big long-term guy with that cap. Again, you need retention. More than likely, Bjorkstrand going out to help that make it work. But again, the Lightning don't typically do a big move like this. I don't hate the idea, but again, I don't know if I quite see it happening.
He's 35 at this point. How do you have his contract pulled up? I don't have the contracts for these guys at all pulled up.
I have some numbers, and the numbers I have again, our cap hit is $7 million with 4 years left on his deal, including this
thank
year.
you. Just no, thank you.
I don't care if he was 24 with 4 years left. I don't want Kadri on my team.
Yeah. There's if it was literally like 2 years, 1 year, and at a lower value, maybe. But I'm not sure. I guess maybe if he was on the team, it wouldn't be so bad. But otherwise, I don't see enough. I don't see that would work out for the team moving forward. I don't think it builds the team better.
Keep in mind, too, the Lightning tend to get linked to a lot of different players during the trade deadline. Every year, they seem like they are linked to almost everybody, which is always interesting. And
then it ends up being none of the people you're linked to.
I was going to get to that towards the end of the show and saying that, no, you're good. I really don't think any of these ones we're going to talk about today is what JVB is going to do. Because you look at Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul in years past, like nobody talked about those guys even being kind of traded, and JVB out of nowhere would go grab those guys and they turn into great moves. He also tends to grab guys, that have like 2 years left on their deal and are restricted free agents, younger players. So a lot of these guys that we've been linked to, I don't think really fit the bill of what JVB typically does. He very rarely does rentals at all, but maybe he does something different this year. Who knows? That's part of the fun when it comes to the trade deadline. But moving on to the next player I got on this list, Matt's going to love this one too. I know Michael was a big fan of this rumor as well, but Evander Kane has some connections to the Lightning in the rumor mill as well. He's in the final year of his deal. $5.1 million is his cap hit. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Evander Kane. Again, this is another bigger name that I just don't know if I can see it working.
This is a guy who just hasn't had it for like 4 years. Like, yeah, he used to be a good player, in the mid and late 2010s, but I mean, he's pretty over the hill. Like, he's played on pretty good teams. He was with Edmonton last year, and I think this is his first year with Vancouver, and he just has not been the player that he used to be. I don't think he's going to get rejuvenated or just find an extra gear on the Lightning. I think he's had some injury troubles, and I'm putting all the off-ice issues aside. He seems to have been a pretty good boy the last couple of years, and I'm not even putting that into consideration. He's just unappealing, in my opinion. I just don't see what his role would be, where he would fit in on this team, or what he could really benefit us. I don't know it'd probably be a cheap price to get him, and definitely need some salary retained. I don't think you want to be paying him nearly $6 million for, depth scoring, kind of bottom two line role, because there's no chance he's making the top six. I just don't see any benefit to having him on the team.
I don't have anything else to add. Yeah, I think you kind of pretty much nailed it there. And again, looking at age, I really don't want to see anyone come over that's older than, say, 33 if they've got any sort of duration on their contract, which obviously is something that you're going to want if if you're going to move forward with that guy. He's 34 right now. His minutes over the years have been declining, and his best season he had 30 goals in his second season. After that, the highest, I guess he had hit 30 another time with San Jose. So, he can put the puck in the back of the net, but he's not a guy that I think is going to give us what we need either, personally. I don't know where he would slot in.
Let's get to a fan comment here. This one's kind of fun from Beverly's asking, what about Ross Colton? Reunion from him. What is his contract actually? Because I don't know.
He's having a rough year.
Is he?
I remember he went it was like 25 games without a goal or something. I know last year he was electric in Colorado, but he had a rough year.
$4 million a year with looks like 2 years left or 1 year left.
2 years left.
Okay.
So I don't know.
His picture when you pull him up on Google, like the little AI, I remember him wearing this hat. This is when he played for the Lightning. It's still like one of his main pictures on Google, and that was a little while ago now.
Ross Colton will forever be one of the great Bolts for scoring, especially that goal that he did against Montreal to win the Stanley Cup. But I just don't know if it's the right fit. There's a reason that they did end up letting him go. But would be a fun one. I don't hate the suggestion. So thank you for that, Beverly. All right, let's go to my next name I got on this list. There's been a lot of weird links to the Lightning this year, I've noticed. I don't quite understand it. Maybe it's a tactic by JBB to just kind of just bounce around a little bit, make everybody think he's going one way before he zags. But this one, Rasmus Ristolainen, cap hit at $5.1 million, 2 years left on his deal. He's currently playing for the Philadelphia Flyers. You know, he was a guy, wasn't he a first-round draft pick, if I remember correctly, for the Buffalo Sabres? And, you know,
overall.
That's right. Sabres tend to get rid of some great players, but he's one guy that hasn't quite panned out. But another one that, again, I just don't know if he really fits on this team. Doesn't fit that mold for JBB and the way he typically trades and for this roster. But for whatever reason, there's been a couple of rumors about him maybe going to the Lightning.
Straight up because he's a right-handed D. I mean, that's something that is obsessed over for the Bolts, and a reason why you're not going to see how's it worded? Chernak being traded away. Someone was saying like don't get rid of Chernak in the comments. Oh, there's a lot of activity going on now, but because you'd have to replace him in order to move him, and any right-handed D that's the one. Yeah. So I mean, any right-handed D, I think that might be available is going to be someone that is going to be rumored for us.
Out of all of the unappealing options that we have gone through so far, this is the most unappealing in my opinion. To me, he is, a right-handed Finnish worse version of late stage Victor Hedman. The guy can hardly skate. He's not great offensively. He is like Jack Hughes falling all over the ice, and just success does not follow him. And nothing against him personally. I don't know anything about him personally, but this is a guy who's just consistently been on bad teams and been bad on bad teams. There's just really no positive quality that I see. Again, just like Evander Kane, I don't know what benefit he would add to this team. I don't really know how much he makes or whatever his contract length is, but all of it's unappealing to me. I just don't see the gap that he would fit or fix, whatever it might be. He's just, again, nothing against the guy personally, but there's never any highlights coming from this guy. He's got a low light list like Braden Coburn did of just own goals or tripping over himself, whatever it might be, and a very short highlight list. And of course, highlights isn't everything, but he's not a lockdown defense guy. He's just kind of to me, he's just kind of a warm body out there with a big name and kind of still riding on his draft pedigree this many years into his career.
That's fair.
And remember, rumors are just rumors. So, there's a lot of smoke when it comes to these kind of things sometimes. Quick comment here from Daniel saying that they've been interested in Ristolainen in the past. I think that's why they're linked to him now. Definitely a possibility, but because he is always a name that pops up around this time and very rarely ends up getting moved. Didn't get moved to Philly, but was stuck in Buffalo for quite a while as well. I want to get to this comment here from Twitter as well. Yes, I'm still calling it Twitter. I refuse to call it X. From NS saying, Ryan O'Reilly, we are not good in the faceoff circle, and this would be a big-time upgrade. I don't hate that idea at all. You're 100% right that we're not good in the faceoff circle, and Ryan O'Reilly is a guy that would help. The only question for me on this one right now would be, is Nashville willing to move Ryan O'Reilly? because, again, Nashville's only a couple of points out of a playoff race. They seem to maybe be feeling kind of good right now, and especially if Stamkos is going to stay and you're not going to get rid of a guy like that. Are you going to move a guy like Ryan O'Reilly? I don't know. I don't hate the idea. Let me pull up his contract while you guys are talking about this here, though.
I've got it up right now. It's 4 years, $18 million. So it's that $4 million and $4.25 a year. And it was signed in 2023. So that means that it's got through next season. I don't hate it. He's got pedigree. One with the Blues, and it seems like a leader, somebody that can grind. I almost think of him at this stage, as like a better Maroon, someone that can play heavy, someone that's not afraid to get into dirty areas, play nasty, has some hands, can finish in tight, and be there for the boys. So yeah, I saw your reaction, Matt. That's where I was going with it. And someone that would be a locker room presence.
He is a joy to be around. Every clip I see of O'Reilly off the ice, it's just he seems like a really fun player to be around, and he's having a really good season on a pretty anemic offensively Nashville team. 59 games played, 57 points, 21 and 36. I'd take that all day. And again, struggling in the faceoffs, this guy's a faceoff machine. He's one of the, if not the best faceoff guy in the league. This is a guy who I think he's got a full no move or a modified no trade clause or something like that. But Barry Trotz in the past has said, we'll acquiesce to what Ryan wants to do. The bad news is Barry Trotz is no longer the GM in Nashville. He stepped down a couple weeks ago. So who knows if that's even an option. If it is, why not? Give one O'Reilly away and bring a new O'Reilly in, Sam and Ryan. I don't know what the deal would look like, but again, having
O'Reilly's on the team,
having a really good year. I don't know where that puts Cirelli. I don't know if hypothetically this happens, if Cirelli gets demoted to like the third line center or something. I thought he plays really well with Hagel, who they've solidified that second line, but I think it'd be maybe a little weird putting O'Reilly on the third line, given how he's still an offensively talented player and seems like he can play and be a center for almost anyone. Has success everywhere he goes, even if it's not crazy offensive output. And again, a playoff player. He killed us when he was with the Leafs a couple of years ago. I hated him on the Leafs because he was that good. He won a Conn Smythe Trophy in 2019 with the Blues because he was that good. This guy shows up in the playoffs. Also a guy, he controls his own destiny. Obviously wants to play in these no state tax states. He wants to get away from the spotlight and kind of lay low. What better place to do that than Tampa? It's, a non-traditional, smaller market team, despite, the success that's followed us. It's not a Toronto or a New York or an LA or anything like that. I think it's a perfect scenario, actually. So I really do love that comment.
I'd be interested to see for sure. And it ends up coming down to if O'Reilly's willing to go to a team like Tampa, which I kind of think he would. But again, I'm biased as well. So we'll see what happens with him at the deadline because he is mixed in a lot of rumors. I want to get to another fan comment here. Let's go for Daniel, who shockingly said pass on O'Reilly, didn't agree with me. He said, what about Owen Tippett from Philly? I will pull up his information here quickly, but at least for the stats, I do have that pulled up. Owen Tippett, 59 games played, 19 goals, 17 assists for 36 points. He is a -10. It is in Philly, though. Maybe that's definitely got some potential there. I don't hate it. What's his contract situation?
He's a right-handed shot on the right wing who's 27 years old. He was 10th overall first-round pick in 2017, so obviously he's somebody that has had potential for most of his career, but in his career he hasn't quite hit 30 goals, so that makes him more of a third-line sort of guy on this team.
But he is fast as light, man. He is a good skater, quick as can be, and he's got at least a couple, 2 or 3 guaranteed, goal of the year candidates per year. For whatever reason, he does score a lot of just crazy, random, beautiful goals. I'm not going to say he's inconsistent. I'd say he's pretty consistent, actually. Maybe not, a a first or second line player. I think maybe he'd probably do pretty well on the second line, but it's a player I'd definitely take a flyer on. Again, if you're going to get rid of a righty in Bjorkstrand, replace him with another righty, why not? I'd take a flyer on him if you can get him.
That
cheap.
would be interesting to be able to do a swap. What was his contract?
So this is where my slight concern comes in. 6.2 million, and he is in year 2 of 8, so 7 years left, which isn't.
You'd have to really like him.
He shows a lot of potential, and I think where the issue lies is he was buried in the bottom 2 lines when he was with the Florida Panthers, and I think he scored a couple nice goals against us. And he's played on another offensively challenged team for the last half a decade in the Philadelphia Flyers. So, you come to a team that'll give you an opportunity in the top 6. Again, if you remove Bjorkstrand and just give him his job, essentially, maybe move him up and add 5-on-5 strength, you might unlock another gear out of him. If there's one thing that the Lightning are good at, it's analyzing, it's utilizing their pro scouts. They know good players and they know who has a lot of potential. I think this is a guy who has a lot of potential that's yet to be unlocked. What is he, 27?
Yes, I believe. I was just looking at it too, and I pulled it down, but I believe that's correct.
He's 27.
And he's a guy that hasn't been mentioned any rumors, so maybe it's a possibility.
Maybe.
All right, a couple more names I got on my list, and then we'll get ready to wrap up the show here shortly. But this one's.
I hope you're going to this next guy because he's like
blowing it up.
Well, I think between him and Owen Tippett, they're kind of similar in a few ways.
Well, tell me, which one are you thinking? Because let's talk about that one. Which guy?
Jordan Kyrou.
Oh yes, I was getting ready to mention him. It's exactly right. Yeah, Jordan Kyrou. So he's again a guy that's not been connected to the Lightning at all. He's got a pretty big contract and is early on kind of like a Tippett situation, but he's been playing really, really good on a bad Blues team. And, if you really want to bolster that top 6, maybe he's a guy that could really fill that role. I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to be a big ask. But boy, would that be a fun name to bring to Tampa.
That was one that you kind of threw out there when we were talking. I was like, oh man, that one got me excited. I think that would be a huge piece for the Lightning. I think that they could probably get away with it too if Bjorkstrand was going back the other way in order to free up enough. By the numbers, it's decently close, but man, I think that would be really good for the Bolts.
I think you can get him at a cheap price. He's a little too inconsistent for me. It seems like ever since he signed, or the year before he signed his big ticket deal, it seems like production has just kind of dropped steadily. So I don't know if you can just rejuvenate his career. He's a proven goal scorer, 20 to 30. I think he even touched 40 one time.
Right now, man. The Blues are terrible. So, it's hard to be motivated when you're in a team that's got a negative goal differential of they're minus 52 on the season, and they're sitting in damn near last place in the league.
Yeah, but at the same time, you play with an elite playmaker like Robert Thomas. I expect you to produce a little bit more. And Robert Thomas is another name that's been floating around, but I think he's out of the Bolts price range.
Robert Thomas.
I was hoping we wouldn't pull up any of his comments. It seems like we've ignored like 6 of his already. So
I haven't ignored Ethan. Don't throw me under the bus here, Matt.
He said Dylan Holloway like 4 times. I was hoping
there's a lot of action in the comment section right now. I can't keep up with everything.
I guess that's a good problem to have, but I'm not as excited about the Kyrou thing. And, maybe if we get him, hopefully, follow the theme of the show of me always being wrong and making me eat my words about players. So I'd maybe take a flyer on it. I might want some salary retained, though. I think $8 million is a bit rich for declining production year after year.
Like I said, you see declining production, but this is the off year. He had his career high was 37 goals in 22-23. Last year he had 36. Really? So this year he's notably down, and he was a plus 23 last year too. And this year he's notably down, but a change of scenery might do him good. He's only ever been in St. Louis, and like I said, this team that they have is not great. Plus he's 27 years old.
Is he lefty or righty?
Right. Come on, you think I'm going to get that excited over someone that's left-handed?
A little more excited.
The contract is the one thing that worries me a little bit because 8.1 million with 6 years left is a lot. But 50% retained, and then you trade Bjorkstrand. It could work. It could work. It could definitely work when it comes to the cap. So I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. That would be a fun one. Not connected to the Lightning in any way that we've heard. But boy, would that be exciting. I also just don't feel like the Lightning typically, JBB, he just loves to get these off the board type of players, younger guys that are restricted free agents. But we shall see as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. I think that is about. I had two other lighter names that I had on here.
Do it anyway.
What's that?
Do it anyway.
All right, let's do it. Jaden Schwartz was one guy I put on my list from Seattle. There's a couple of guys on Seattle that kind of interest me. They're older guys, kind of more rental players, which again I mentioned JBB typically doesn't do. But he's a name I thought could be kind of interesting coming from Seattle. Seattle's a fun team, man. I really enjoy watching the way they play.
They're in a playoff race. I don't know if they're going to be sellers. I mean, unless they try an honest to God hockey trade with Jaden Schwartz, but I think he's their captain. I'm not entirely sure. I think they're pretty close, if not in a playoff spot right now. So I don't know if they're going to be selling.
It's certainly possible. But they for whatever reason, there's been a couple of Seattle players mentioned in trade rumors, and they're on the list from the Athletic for trade targets. That's why I threw that one out there. But the one other one, this one I thought was interesting because it fits the bill more, I think, of a JBB potential move. And that is a defenseman from the Rangers. And I apologize because I don't 100% know how to say his last name, but it's Brandon, I believe it's Schneider.
Yeah.
Young defenseman for the Rangers. So he was one guy that was mentioned possibly going to the Lightning. I don't hate the
I don't think that dude's going anywhere.
No? Fair enough.
I think that they love him. I think they love him in New York too much to, and he's a pretty big dude. He's a hard hitter, and he's I don't know if they'd be willing to move him, but if they were, hey, look. But if they were, that's a guy that I think would be good on the team. Again, I'm not always obsessed with right-handed shots, but it's just that he's a right-handed shot, and that just moves certain pieces that I think that need to be replaced in the Lightning roster. So I would like it if they could somehow do it, as long as it at age 24, playing as well as he's playing, absolutely.
Let me do you one better. A right-handed New York Rangers defenseman.
No.
Adam Fox.
Okay.
Who do you think I was talking about?
Well, you're starting to say a right-handed defenseman. I didn't know you were going to go Rangers.
Who did you think I was talking about?
Who would you think that I would think that you were talking about?
Okay, you know what? Why not? No. The Rangers have said everyone's available except Igor, essentially, and Adam Fox. He's came out and said he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild, which it seems like that's the direction that the Rangers are going. That would be a crazy feat if you could get Adam Fox again, with the emergence of Darren Radish. Maybe he walks in free agency. I don't know how it would work at all. I don't know how you would bring him over here, but that would be a fun one. It's a Galaxy brain, but it seems like he's, the one of the bigger name players that's going to be on a new team maybe this year or maybe next year.
I like his game. I like his game a lot.
Beverly, by the way, asked this comment, said, we're not going to use our boys in Syracuse. I think they have used them to an extent already. A lot of guys up. Crozier, who's hurt right now. Lilleberg, he's been on the team for a little bit now. But I don't know if anybody else is James. Is quite ready yet. Destu, there you go. Thank you, Matt. And also, Geeky's an interesting name. I think somebody mentioned Geeky earlier. It might have been Beverly. I don't know. Maybe he's a guy that does come up after some trades, or he's a potential trade piece that the Lightning could move. I don't know, because the Geeky situation's been really weird with him sitting down on the crunch as long as he has. Maybe he's a guy that gets moved at the deadline. But he's an interesting one, at least from Syracuse.
Seems like you'd be kind of selling low on him right now. Obviously, his game hasn't really worked out. It really hasn't worked out with the Lightning. I know he had a strong finish to the previous season, but when he was up for what was it, like 20 games this year. It was pretty unimpressive. Maybe not even 20, but seems like guys like Dominic James have kind of stolen his spot. Maybe there's, depending on his injury situation, might be looking at a call-up sometime soon, but I really hope he can find it at the NHL level, because it could turn into a trade chip, or worst case scenario, turn into a good player for the Lightning.
Still hope for him. I mean, he's 21 years old. It's not like he's ran out of legs yet, and it just, obviously there's gaps to his game, and let him continue to be the man in Syracuse, because he's not going to be able to be a top 6 in Tampa. So it's the same sort of thing that would happen with ABB. Like he would have to be slotted into a top 6 role, but if you can't fill those shoes, where do you have to play? Similar reason why we've lost players in the past where you just couldn't crack it. So rather than have him languish as a lower line where his defense has always been suspect, let him continue to work on his game down there, and he'll be one of those things that in the future either will be a great piece of a trade, or he'll be able to come up, because he probably won't have to wait but another season or two, and he's doing well with what he's doing down there right now.
And if he's anything like his brother, you're just kind of a guy that exists for, the first couple years of your career, and then all of a sudden you're a 40 goal scorer. Maybe he follows Morgan's trajectory.
Runs in the genes.
Yeah.
Lisa did ask how soon will we hear from JBB if there is a trade. Typically, especially on deadline day, which is Friday, by the way, it would be at the end of the deadline, although the Lightning have a tendency also to make trades early, like the day before. How many times have we seen in the NHL, by the way, that a ton of big trades go down the day before, and then deadline day is kind of quiet sometimes. But if that happens, you'll probably hear from JBB relatively quickly after the deal is made, if it's before the deadline. If it's on deadline day, more than likely not till just after 3 p.m. Eastern, which is when the official deadline is.
So there's another comment I want you to get to, the one from Dan saying that we're bouncing all over the board.
Yeah, that's what this show's about.
You guys are bouncing all over the board. What do you think is the biggest need on this team right now? Well, yeah, you got to bounce. There's a lot of different options out there right now. The Lightning have been connected.
Yeah, so I have an opinion about that, and that's straight up the biggest need is somebody that can produce, that has a right-handed shot as a forward, is the most immediate need. The secondary need that can be addressed either now or in the off season is a right-handed shot that plays defense, and both of those are in my opinion either a current glaring hole or something that first of all, you can't have too many of, and second of all, with deep right-handed defensemen, and second, we're probably going to come into an issue when it comes to Chernak and Radish and contracts. So having another option would be invaluable.
Yeah, I think a right-handed winger would kind of be my biggest need right now. Maybe somebody for that top power play role to replace Bjorkstrand. He's been good on the power play, but even still, I think a wing is kind of the biggest need right now. The defense, it's hard to argue against how good it's been this season. I don't know if we do need anything. Maybe they've just been kind of playing so well on hopes and dreams, and hopefully that doesn't come to an end anytime soon. But if these last 2 games have showed us anything, maybe defense might be in the works for us. So kind of with you, Joe, secondary need being defense, but primary, a right-handed forward, preferably a winger. I think we're good on center depth.
I'll go a little more vague, and I'm just going to say a top 6 forward to kind of replace Bjorkstrand. Yes, Joe, you're probably right. Right-handed shots probably best for the team's need, especially on defense. But that's the one. If we're going to get one guy, I'd like to see it be a top 6 forward that can kind of slot in for. I'm assuming if we make a move, Bjorkstrand's on the way out. Just because it hasn't worked out for him in Tampa. Beverly, by the way, said face off. Right-handed guy. Yeah, not a bad shout at all. Although, Matt, is that stat still true when the Lightning have like under 30% on faceoffs as they've won? I don't know. I haven't been checking.
I'm not sure. I mean, they were killer in the Carolina game, so it might still be true.
But maybe we don't want to face off, guys. All I'm saying.
Lose as many as you can.
right? That seems to be the secret recipe, but not a bad idea at all, Beverly. Definitely somebody that's good in the face-off circle. I'm sure they're looking at that because you don't want to run into a playoff run saying, oh, we're really bad at face-offs, but we're winning the games. That doesn't always work out. So listen, it's going to be an interesting trade deadline. We went through a lot of different players, a lot that do have connections to the Lightning. So, and the Lightning do have a little bit of cap space, $3 million. It isn't a ton, but when you do have guys like Bjorkstrand, you can potentially move that. It frees up a little more space too. So, you never really know what's going to happen at these deadlines. We'll be here to cover it all, by the way. Quickly on the schedule, by the way.
I was going to say, I heard they're going on a scouting trip tomorrow.
The Lightning scout team?
Yeah, they're scouting tomorrow, actually at the game for a right-handed defenseman. You know anything about this, Matt?
No, I don't.
Yeah, they're going to be scouting tomorrow for a right-handed defenseman when they play the Minnesota Wild.
Yes.
Looking at Zach, bring back Bogosian for a third stint.
Bring my boy home.
By the way, this game is at 9:30 p.m. Eastern against Minnesota. Why? But 9:30 p.m. Eastern against Minnesota on Tuesday. That game is tomorrow. That game on TNT, by the way. And then the Lightning will play on Thursday against the Winnipeg Jets at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then you'll have the deadline on Friday. The Lightning are off that day. And then they will be in Toronto for a game against 7 p.m. Eastern. That game on NHL Network, also on the spot as well. And then that's the first half of a back-to-back. The back-to-back will be against Buffalo at 6 p.m. Eastern. So you have different start times for every single one of these games on this road trip. But Buffalo game, I kind of circle there. Maybe some revenge for the Lightning after the way that first game went. So interesting schedule coming up here for the Bolts, especially with that 9:30 game.
Let's get a quick off-topic question here. Why did the Red Wings and Predators have a strange start time?
Because it was the they're in the United States game for overseas fans, for Swedish fans or something. Because they've got Philip Forsberg and Lucas Raymond and all that.
Okay.
I saw something about it a couple weeks ago. Maybe not even a couple weeks ago, like a couple days ago.
Got it.
Yeah, so whatever they called it.
Yeah, Dan calling out primetime game in Europe. I didn't know. I just saw that before the show even started that there was a completed game already for today. Which okay. Sorry to derail us there.
All good.
The NHL is weird with their times. They do a lot of weird things when it comes to that. But here's the bottom line. Whatever happens this week with whatever time these games are being played at, we will be back next week to break it all down, breaking the trade deadline coverage. So be sure to follow us on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning. Like, subscribe, share this video, ring that bell for notifications so you do know when we do go live. Thank you to everybody who tuned in with us live. Even you, Ethan. I'm sorry I missed some of your comments there at the end, but we appreciate you guys as always. But with that said, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you guys in the next one. Go Bolts.
Bring Bogo home.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.